Today's episode is a little bit different from what I've posted so far. When I set out on this project, I wanted to learn things about people that I didn't know already and experience some social interaction during lockdown. Many of the calls became interview style, whereby I would ask the majority of the questions and the other person would answer. However, this one was a little different. Kraig and I talked for nearly 3 hours and covered many things we didn't know about the other. And for this reason, the episode's a bit longer as it includes my own responses to some of his questions. But before we get into that, a little bit about Kraig. Whether you know him or not, you likely know of his work. One of the 63 feature film scripts that he wrote includes Secret Obsession, which rose to the top 10 most watched Netflix originals ever after scoring 40 million views in just 28 days. The son of a career politician, we discovered we had much more in common than we knew, including moving schools frequently and our experiences with bullies. So please enjoy my conversation with Kraig Wenman.
You can use anything I say. I've never seen an interview I've done ever.
Really? It's just your personal policy?
I just don't like the sound of my cartoonish voice. So I just never watch it. All my family has like this kind of similar voice. And yeah, I'm not a fan of it.
So what's wrong with it?
Oh, we've just had a lot of broken noses.
Okay. No, sorry. I didn't ask you to explain like where it came from. Like, that wasn't the whole purpose. I don't see anything wrong with the voice personally. And so,
No. It's a good question. And that's where, it came from. For me, it came from just like broken noses and skateboarding and stupid stuff. So
okay, fair enough.
I never got it properly reset. And at one point, I broke it the first time. I just ran into a post in like grade 7.
Okay.
Like right as your voice is changing and everything like that.
And it just sort of put it on pause.
Oh, and then never changed.
Okay. Well, I think it could just be that it's sort of natural that people hate the way they sound recorded, right? I mean,
that's what they say with REM, with Michael Stipe. That's why he uses so many effects, because he hates the sound of his own voice.
Really? Interesting. He would choose to be a singer then.
But that's like, it's like shy people become actors. It's the one.
I have heard that. Yeah, that it's almost like a different persona. They adopt a different persona. They become the people that they wish they were. The overconfident, exuberant, outgoing people. Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll start with a softie for you. Your bio has an X as your middle initial. What does that stand for, or is that just a Hollywood thing?
It was just a way to stand out at the time on a business card when someone would say, oh, let's talk and stuff like that, and the X, and no one had that middle initial at that time. And then I saw a guy on The Simpsons, a writer on The Simpsons, had it. So I stopped using it. But sometimes, like the agent will say, well, or the guild will say, this is his name, so you have to use it legally. So on some productions, there's the X's in there, if not, but it doesn't stand for anything except for standing out. It's like Michael J. Fox. His middle name doesn't start with a J.
No, it's Alex, right?
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. No, I know the story. He changed it from Michael A. Fox because he didn't think that Michael a Fox sounded great. It sounded very cocky, and the fact that he was Canadian, he didn't want to come across as saying, "Oh, Michael A," like Canadians say A, and so he changed it. I don't remember who he changed it to, but there was it's for an actor that he looked up to, or it does reference somebody. I don't know who it references for.
What was your movie growing up? Like everyone kind of had their thing.
I can remember some really bad ones.
But bad ones are just as important.
Howard the Duck was a big one for me.
Oh, I love it.
Howard the Duck, yeah.
Yeah, they're remaking that one as well.
Are they?
Oh yeah, because they put him into like the end of the Thor movie or something, didn't they?
I don't know. I haven't seen it. I'm totally not
Howard
up to date on the Marvel series.
And that guy who played the villain was the same guy we were talking about as the villain in The Last Action Hero, wasn't it? Oh no, that was two different guys. There was two different red-haired guys.
Just two.
There was two. You're only allowed two.
Yeah. Okay.
I have an Irish background, but you're only allowed 2 Irish actors in a decade. And there was 2, and there was the guy. So there was the guy who played Rooney in Ferris Bueller,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was the guy who played the villain in Last Action Hero.
What was your movie?
Yeah, I remember the first VHS movie I ever rented because we're old and we're talking about VHS.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it was The Wizard of Oz straight out. I was like,
Oh, okay.
think it's the perfect movie as far as structure goes, and it's just so simple. You have to get from here to here. That's it, and then you go home. And
Yeah.
I just love the simplicity of it, because even if you watch an action movie today, like John Wick, or you watch The Raid 2 or The Raid, you just have to get from here at the bottom of the building to the top of the building by the end. And it's just so simple, because now anything can happen in between there, but that's the goal. So The Wizard of Oz is just great. And it's a great story about, a near-death experience. She's just, you're dead and you're going to heaven for a little bit, and then you come back. And you were there, and you were there, and you were there. I think structurally that's the perfect movie as far as being a screenwriter.
So I'm curious, because you talked about The Wizard of Oz with such structure. Was that an afterthought, or was that through the lens of a kid who always wanted to be a writer?
I like the simplicity of it. I think it was just because I didn't really have a structure at home growing up, because my dad was a politician. We moved around a lot. And so it was kind of always, there was a comfort in knowing you would get from here to here, and you wouldn't be in a hotel room watching the Super Channel. Not that there's anything wrong with being in a hotel room. I had a great time. It was awesome. But there was just like you could count on it. So
Okay.
what's going on? So with you, when did you come to White Rock? Like, you weren't born here.
I was not born in White Rock. No. I moved to White Rock in 2000. Basically, I graduated high school in June of 2000, and 3 weeks later, my parents moved out here, and I wasn't ready to fly the coop just yet. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess for free rent, I'm moving to White Rock. And so,
Right.
that's what I did.
So you were where? Weren't you like in a prairies guy or something?
No, Richmond. Yeah, I grew up in Richmond. Back when bullying was acceptable.
Right? It was cool, yeah.
Yeah. Only the cool kids are doing it. Yeah.
And then I think Back to the Future kind of changed that a little bit. Because then Biff Tannen all of a sudden was not cool. And then there was a series of John Hughes movies where the losers kind of took over for a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think my bullies saw any of those movies.
What did you get bullied for?
Oh, I was pretty much always the smallest person in my class, and I was new because my parents separated when I was pretty young, so I moved to Ottawa for a little bit when I was younger.
Me too.
Pardon me? Me
too, to Ottawa.
Okay. Yeah, so I lived there for a couple of years, and then after grade 1, single parent, my mom was having a bit of a challenge with raising both my sister and I, and so my dad had remarried at that point, and so he was living out west, and she said, okay, well, two parent household would probably be better for 2 kids and stability. Would you be willing to have them back? I said, yeah, absolutely, send them over, we'll do that. And so I moved out here, and so I was grade 2, I was the new kid to school, and then we moved just parts of Richmond. So then grade 5, I was in a new school again. Then high school was, I went to grade 8 to one school, and that was the time when the grades were, or junior high school and senior high school were merging. And so the high school that I was supposed to go to didn't have grade 8 the year I needed grade 8. So then I went to one school for grade 8, and then I went to another school. So I went to like 4 schools in the matter of 5 years. And so I was always the new kid as well. Yeah. And I was always the smallest. Like, I didn't have that established friend base. And the problem was when they were groups, right? Because then it was just like, you're just like 5 friends all teasing each other, teasing you together, and it's like, this sucks. So.
Were your responses cocky? Is that why they teased you more?
Sometimes.
Or more like abrasive, or?
Yeah, sometimes for sure. I would say cocky was probably the go-to defense mechanism. I use humor a lot, but the problem with humor is that it only works if somebody else laughs, right?
Right.
And so if you're using humor to defend against a group and none of them are laughing, but they're laughing at you because you made a joke and nobody's laughing at it, that doesn't do the job that you need it to do.
But doesn't that up your game?
No, it does not. It does not. You always need a wingman, right? And so, if everybody, if I was just followed around with somebody who would laugh at my jokes, I probably would have just been fine. Right? Everyone needs one person to get them through school. So you got bullies. Maybe you just dealt with them earlier on in your life than I did, right? Because mine was sort of, I didn't really deal with them. I just moved away from them because I just shifted schools. Like, I don't know if your bullies followed you from school to school.
No, because it was so spread out and everything like that. So there was nothing, and it wasn't in the day of social media where you could track someone down and do all that thing.
Sure.
So I just learned every time I go into a room, as I do now, or I go into a school, there's a way to control that room and that first impression of you. And it was always just by being extrovert and being loud. When you're the small kid and when you're moving around, you just have to fit in, because I was always the shortest kid in my class as well. And I'd been to, before high school, maybe 7 different schools. Like in all different parts of the country and stuff like that. So you have to just use your wit.
Yeah.
You're not going to use your size. You're not going to, if a bully bullies you, you're just going to have to cut them down better than they did you and humiliate them more. And so now even when you and I hang out, it's like we're going to be like witty and we're going to cut people down if they cut us down, or we're just going to banter a lot. And I think that's for me, for my job, it's the greatest gift. And you as a realtor, it created us. And so I'm kind of thankful for it in that way now.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, things didn't really change for me until puberty, because between grade 8 and 9, like, I was one of those kids that, his voice started changing in the middle of class, right? They'd take attendance,
Well, lucky you, mine never changed, so.
Oh,
you hate to brag, but
no, it's not a brag by any stretch. But when you're in it, it's hard to know that you're going to get through to the other side, right? But now it's just like, it doesn't even faze me now, because I know really what's behind the bullying, and it's got nothing to do with me, right?
Right. And then you feel bad for them, and you try to explain that to your kids if anything like that happens at school. Or no? You don't feel bad for
pity doesn't come very quickly to me. I mean,
okay, so then maybe there's some serious kind of issues with it.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I feel fortunate, right? And I realize, like, we're in maybe a better situation, and explain that to the kids, and they're coming from a different scenario. But I don't know, maybe it's because they have it significantly worse. I didn't feel like at the time that I had my life, like, when I was younger, I didn't feel like my life was all that great, and yet I didn't treat people like crap, right? And so, I don't immediately go back to the pity part, because I think, you can have a crappy life, and I definitely get, like, some people have really terrible circumstances that I'll never understand, and so I give them a little bit of a break. But ultimately, I think, you do have a choice to be decent. Maybe maybe that's just, I don't know, too.
So what with the bullying, was it like beating up and stuff like that, or was it
I
just
got I got beat up a fair bit. I mean, tormented as well, right? I mean, teased and stuff taken from my desk and thrown around, and I don't know. I mean, there were different situations, and it depended on the person who was actually doing the bullying, because I had a couple of different bullies, right?
Okay.
Different schools, different bullies, but
Well, you're the new kid. You're always the new kid, and you're the short kid at the same time.
yeah. So, and back then,
which is tough.
well, and I was really into computers, which back then, I mean, like just right nerd right on the forehead and just be done with it, right? So,
but nerds rule the world. So
I've done okay.
You've done well. I see. There's a whole bunch of. What are those things behind you on the wall?
I had somebody else ask me that. So the important ones up there are all my wife's.
That knocked my headphones out. That was awesome.
So that one's a real estate award plaque. That one is my BCIT certificate for web development, and that one
nobody did that.
And that one is my participation certificate for filming on Dragon's Den.
Can you tell that story, or did you already tell this on another podcast? We could do something else.
I haven't told that story. Yeah. So in 2010, so I made the pitch at an audition here in Vancouver. Maybe 5-6 weeks later, I got the call that I'd been selected, and like 2 days earlier, we found out we were pregnant with our first child, and so like it was like just a banner week in the Thornton household. Everything was just looking up, and so October, November was when I actually flew to Toronto to do the filming. I managed to secure a deal with 2 of the dragons.
What?
Yeah.
You never told me this?
Yeah.
What dragons? I was just getting ready to say, was your evaluation too high? You secured what dragons? Oh, sorry.
So Jim Treliving and Robert Hershevik signed on, and we did the due diligence process for about 4 months. At which point they both said, you know what, I think we're not going to proceed. And ultimately, I think I was just too early stages for them. Here's young Derek.
Oh, that's awesome. I've never seen that. Why is that not like a Facebook picture? Is it on there?
No, it's not on Facebook. I shared a memory not too long ago about that it had been 9 years since I went. So that must have been back in October, November that I shared that memory. Yeah.
I had no clue. It's amazing. I think.
So I mean,
tough for you.
I don't know. I mean, it was well outside my comfort zone. I mean, here I am. I literally had, just a prop and an explanation, and I had a prototype, program developed, but I didn't have a lot. I had no experience dealing with, multi-millionaire business people and the sophistication that goes along with that. And so enlisted a couple people to help me with the preparation for it. I mean, I lost 6 pounds in the 2 weeks leading up to it just from stress. Just not sleeping, like stomach. I don't know. Maybe I had an.
So you should write a book on that weight loss plan.
Yeah. So what you want to do. Yeah.
That's awesome. This is awesome. I didn't know this about you.
Yeah. So.
And I feel like it was something like if that had happened to me, you would have known that about me.
You mentioned your dad was a politician. So what?
Yeah.
What, tell me about that. Tell me the details.
Oh, he was strange. He was a great guy, and but oddly, it was just for a party. Well, he was at the time of Reagan and Mulrooney in the 80s. It was a very conservative time. But he was
let's start. What kind of politician was he?
He was a member of parliament.
Okay.
So he represented Fraser Valley West, which is kind of our area, and he was an MLA. I think he was the youngest MLA ever in Victoria. I represented White Rock, represented Langley. I think at one point like Matt Squee in that area and stuff like that.
Okay.
And he did it for 27 years. And people just liked him, and they just kept re-electing him. And just at one point he said, okay, I'm out. And it was just like, it was like George Costanza in the meeting. Yeah, thank you, good night, I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah. So he was like, he was a conservative, but he was a kind of tree hugging conservative.
That's neat.
It's actually what they call him. So like when Canada was supposed to go, well, they did go to war. When we went to the first Iraq war,
Okay.
he crossed the party line and said, I'm not going to bury my son in a sandy grave over oil or anything you want to do. So while he was conservative at that time, and that was like 88, 89, all that stuff.
Right. That would have gone against the grain back then.
Like big time. Like it was like the big news of this guy's a sellout. He's being, he's being paid off by the liberals of that time to say this stuff. And so it was, and that was another thing, go back to the bullying. So now your dad's on, the front page of a paper saying that he's selling out, the government to not go to war or save trees, save the Carmana Valley over on the island and stuff like that. So that was another bullying thing.
Always in the province of BC, or because you said you lived in Ottawa?
Yeah, because like the federal members, it was good to live out there because that's where all the action happened.
Right.
And then so we like you, we lived in Ottawa from like the time I was in preschool till about grade 6, and then we moved back.
I don't remember exactly when we met the first time.
Oh, I remember the first time we met.
Okay.
The first time we met was by the pier. I think that's what it was. It was the pier. By the pier. It was the last day of school.
Yes, it was.
And we were skimboarding and stuff like that.
You helped my kids skimboard. You did, absolutely. Yes.
That's right. And that's when you were telling me about like flying planes because planes are flying over. Now it's all coming together.
I do remember the second time.
First time was band camp. What was the second time?
No, and I'm going to mention this, and I don't mean to get sentimental, but I specifically remember the second time because, right, like we moved when our kids were going to go to the school for kindergarten. And, we knew a couple people. And anyways, the second time, and I wouldn't have recognized you to pick you out of a lineup. We were down at the beach for the snowbirds, and you made a point to come over and say, you're so-and-so from wherever's, good to see you again. And I don't know, I always appreciate the fact that, like you took the time, like, there's definitely been times when I've seen people that I'm not really acquainted with, and I'm sort of wave. I don't make a point to start a conversation with them and go over and make a point to say, hey, I know that you're here and, let's talk for 5 minutes. But you did
This is from being that kid that was always new at school. It was absolutely from that. But I do also remember the first time we met, us for some reason talking about you flying planes. And I remember then when we did see the snowbirds go over, I'm like, oh, is this like really cool to you? And you're like, yeah, it's okay.
I love the snowbirds. Yeah.
I'm like, no, this is like your big moment. This is like the biggest moment of your year. Yeah, I do like planes and I love flying and I love the snowbirds. It's probably not my biggest day. I just like, okay, this guy's coming on the next pub crawl.
And then that was the third time. You put out a very public invite, which is great. And that's never been my style, but it has been something that I have actually worked towards since. Being more inclusive, like I've always been like I hang out with certain groups, right? And because certain groups, you just know they don't mix well, right? It's sort of like alcohol.
But that's why it's fun. That's why it's fun.
I know, right? And if they don't mix well,
put the computer guy with the realtor guy. Oh, they're the same guy, and they know each other. And it's just now give that guy a drink. Now give that guy, give that guy who.
Now we got a party.
Who does drywall to that guy who does, who's the architect of the building, and then put them together. And then I just always like that alcohol is like death. It's the great equalizer of all people. And then there's so many great moments that come out of, like, as you know,
Absolutely. But yeah,
and
that
the
was
moms too, and the moms too, and the moms.
the moms are happy to be there too. But anyways, I did want to say that I did appreciate you coming over, because that is not something that it's not something I would immediately think to do, even though it is something I admire in people that do it. It's easy to miss out on things if your first or your default answer is no,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah.
And that's what differentiates, I think, successful people from unsuccessful.
That certainly differentiates the introverts and the extroverts, but
But now you're an introvert as a kid, but now would you consider yourself an extrovert as an adult?
Oh yeah.
Or
Oh yeah.
are you an extrovert in a certain situation, an introvert in others?
I think I'm 90% extrovert. We were talking one time about the differences between introvert and extrovert, in the sense that it's how you recharge yourself and
Exactly.
sort of replenish the energy within yourself. I don't
Yeah.
have to be boisterous and having a huge conversation, but I need to be around people to feel energized.
Yeah.
Right? Like I can go out to a bar with 4 or 5 people and say very little and just be in the moment and present, and listen to the stories, and that's gonna do more for me than sitting at home reading a book. You do seem like a very social guy. However, my perception of your work in particular is very solitary and very alone. And so
Right.
working by yourself, maybe you can describe your daily routine and how you stay motivated.
Who says it, right? It's like Hemingway says, on its best day, writing's the loneliest profession alive.
Yeah.
And so that's why usually an introvert will be drawn to it, because you can sit in the room and you can be by yourself and do an 8-hour workday or a 9-hour workday or 10 or 15, and you're just sitting here at this computer right now doing this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, for me, it's not that. It's just, for me, it's therapy. Just write for like 3 hours, get all your issues out on the page, and then go out and live your life and stuff like that. So for me, it's a little bit different. I've met other writers that are extroverts, but it's just not a common thing.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it works, because then I can go out and meet producers and other producers and just hang out and stuff. Whereas it's hard for other writers who are introverts to leave the cave.
5, sometimes 6 days per week. You're pretty consistent with your 3-hour writing block. Now, obviously, would you describe yourself as a scriptwriter, screenwriter? How would you describe yourself and what you do?
Yeah, just a straight screenwriter. So I'm not writing novels, just writing straight for the screen.
Okay. So as a screenwriter, writing is not your only job. You still have to sell your scripts, right? And promote yourself. Is that a fair assessment?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's why a lot of people I need to find an agent. I need to find like a manager that can do this for me. And even when I do have an agent and a manager, I'm still doing my hustle and hooking them up with connections and stuff like that. So writing, I think, maybe 90% of it, but 10% is just straight marketing, And this is where we have Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, stuff like that. I think there's people who are definitely better writers, but just the hustle will beat out that better writer every time. That scared just sitting in a room with Dracula posters and whatever all this stuff is. But it's just hustle. It's just persistence. People give up, right before the finish line all the time. I see it every single day with a writer saying, how do I make it? You just keep going. You don't have to be the best writer. You have to be the best rewriter. That's it. And you need the hustle and you need to keep going. I find it very simple because I guess I've been doing it a while and keeping it a strict kind of regimen and stuff like that. But most people are just going to sit around and wait for inspiration. but it's like Picasso, it's, inspiration has to find you working. Sit down. If you're having writer's block, you've made it up because you feel like you're going to fail. Just sit down and start typing about, your fear of failure, typing about how you can't think of anything to write, and something will come every time. You just have to sit down. You can't edit a blank page. Just go and write it. No one has to see your first draft. The only thing a first draft has to be is done. It's just write it. No one's going to see it. If it feels like work, why would you do it? I don't know. It's just.
Well, I guess it takes a while for some people to actually figure that out, right? And
yeah, no,
I'm still figuring that out, but I do like what I do. So
you're doing well. You got your face on billboards and.
Oh, they give those to anybody that writes a check. So tell me about this thing called money. And how does it get you ahead in the world? Yes.
Yeah, right.
First you get the money,
then you get the power.
Then
Scarface.
You get the women. Yeah. This is probably going to eat at you, but I knew that quote. I have seen Scarface, so I know it is from Scarface.
Yeah.
But I knew that quote first from The Simpsons.
Oh, yeah, he does do that.
Yes.
I would say I know most. I learned literature more from The Simpsons than I did
from the actual reference, right? Yeah.
In university, reading about Edgar Allan Poe, the Telltale Heart.
Yes,
I can still think of The Simpsons and that beating
that
floorboard and the diorama or whatever it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or that show was everything. Man.
Or the Raven, Hark the Raven, great. Nevermore.
It's so great.
Yeah.
That show just teaches so much. And so we used to have like viewing parties where I think it was on Sunday or whatever. We'd all just get around. There'd be like maybe 20 of us in a room just around a TV, just rewatching the Duff Brewery tour or, all that stuff. It's so great.
With Stuffman.
I would say that show and Sound Night Live.
That is your Halloween costume for this year. You should go with Duffman.
Yeah. I'll get in shape for that one. Well, he's like a blonde haired dude though, too, right? Duffman. That would be cool, actually.
Just for men.
I use it on my beard. It's working. Why does that guy look so creepy? Just for men.
You could go as Duffman. I could probably go as Mo. or Barney.
There you go. Barney was great.
But as long as I've known you, you've been a fit guy, and I'm curious. Like, has that always been the case because you grew up, the small person, you just always wanted to be in shape, or is that something that
was 100% it? That was 100% it. Just being that short in grade 8. And then I just started growing in the same way. It was like we've almost lived a similar life.
Okay.
Go from Ottawa, being the short kid and coming back and everything like that. And it was exactly that response of, I'm not going to, now that I can compete with my mind and I can cut you down better, I'm going to get bigger. So you're not even going to say that.
Mm.
So it's always, again, it's like a very insecure way of seeing things, but,
No, I appreciate the candor.
And that's how it started out. But then as I started writing and stuff, it's a way to break up the day to get those endorphins that come from that will create more ideas. It's like Aaron Sorkin says, when he's really in a zone, he's going to be taking maybe 8 showers a day because it just resets your mind.
Okay.
Even if you could throw a nap in that reset, you're going to wake up. And for me, then I can reset and forget everything I've done there and restart again. So it's just restarts.
So do you do your writing, say 9 to 12, 12:30, and then you get in a workout, lunch? What's the rest of the day?
Yeah. Then I'll get in a quick workout, and then I can adjust or add on to any idea that I've already done earlier.
Okay.
But I'm not going to write more unless I'm on an assignment where I have to write at night as well. But when you write at night, you come up with like really dark stuff. You're like by yourself. You become Stephen King. You're just in a dark room like a crazy person at like 2 a.m. What are you going to come up with?
The Telltale Heart.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And Poe was the first. Poe was like the first kind of guy to write the detective series. He was the first one.
Was he really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The murder detective series. You can Google it later. I'm probably wrong, but I would say
that's okay.
No, it's okay. Well, I actually Googled it the other day.
I'm not fact checking these interviews, by the way.
Yeah. You just see just that Chiron in there saying, this is not real.
I'm not a good salesperson.
That's your job.
No, it's not. It's not. And I see it different.
Okay. How do you see it? Okay, wait. I'll rephrase the question. How do you see you being a real estate agent? Like, what's your motive? How do you sell?
So I don't believe I sell real estate. I believe I advise on real estate, and people make their ultimate decisions based on that advice, right? So the advice could and has been in the past, walk away from a deal or don't do this deal because it's not the best one for that client at the particular time with the information that I have available to me. Now, keep that in mind. My advice and my opinions are based on the information I have available to me. And so if a seller or a buyer don't share all the information available to them that would then help craft that decision, they could come up with a different conclusion than I would. It doesn't make it wrong. It just means they're coming up and forming that conclusion with different a different data set that I've got, right? And so I merely provide advice, and what people do from there is up to them. And I don't mean that to sound so cavalier and simplistic, but
no, that's what you want. Yeah.
I never try to talk people into selling a home or talk people into selling them a house or for them to buy a house, right? Ultimately, if people are sold, I believe that will in turn turn into a negative experience, whether it's now or later. If they realize that they have been sold something that they didn't necessarily want, they will have a negative connotation with my name associated to it. And that's not something that I want to live with, because I not just, I build a business on referrals. I don't just want this deal. I want the deal in 5 years. I want the deal in 10 years. I want, them to tell all their friends and family as well. Right. And so if I sell people on things and that's what they tell their friends and family, and they don't relate to that type of a process, that isn't going to bode well for me. But if they can then say, oh, well, Derek was really good because he just gave us all the advice and all the information we needed, and we made the decision. He helped guide us. Then that comes across a little bit better for, I would say, the majority of people, at least the people I deal with, right? And maybe that's the wrong approach, but it's the approach that I'm comfortable with. So, yeah,
I think that's a great way to look at it. You're a consultant rather than a salesman.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's unfortunate. There's a lot about the industry I don't agree with. That doesn't mean that it's a bad industry. I think there's just a lot of bad people in it, much like any other industry. It just happens to be one.
Maybe like show business or something.
Yeah. Touche. But I mean, in terms of trust factor, we are one step below used car salesmen in like an Ipsos Reid poll done.
Really?
Yeah. We're above lawyers, but below used car salesmen. And so that is the public perception of your average real estate agent, is that snake oil used car salesman vibe, right? And so when I meet a client or a prospective client and that's their perception of me, if I prove them right, I lose the business. Right? If I can alter their perception in any way, and hopefully in a positive way, then maybe I have a chance at doing business with them. Do you find it hard to watch and enjoy other films then, because you know too much about the process that goes into them? Like, is the magic gone for you in certain circumstances?
No, it's the opposite, because I know you have to hit this mark at page 10. You know,
Okay.
at minute 10, I know you have to hit this at page 17. I know you have to hit this at page 30, which is the 30-minute mark, and then 45 and 60 and 90. And so it's in the same way that a sonnet has 14 lines. You appreciate when someone surprises you at each of those beats. So I like it. I like it when I can't predict it. So I don't know, in the same way you listen to a song, if you're a musician, you appreciate that twist on the twist on the twist. So no, I like it more. And that even in a situation where I know this is what this film's going to be, I just sit back and it's popcorn. If I'm watching this is popcorn, and just sit back and enjoy the adventure. I think if you overanalyze everything in your life, I think you're just going to be disappointed by entertainment in general. But if you can surprise me in a sonnet, love it.
But I'm going to ask you a couple rapid fire now, and then
sure, go for it.
And then you can ask me anything you want, because that'll be easier for me to cut it out at the end. So what was your worst job?
I had just one job where I had to go around a pharmacy, and it was just called facing. So I just had to move all the products to the front of the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that all day. It wasn't even a real job. I don't even know. I think they just made it up because they had me around. Look at this. We're going to get this guy to do this all the time. Just face it up. I'm sure I was supposed to do something better. But
well, at least make sure the English side was out.
And I would screw that up as well. I was just terrible at jobs and taking instruction. So I got into movies because I thought it would be not like that. And then you realize you're always working for someone. You're always taking instruction and notes and stuff like that.
I was going to say, so you thought, I'm going to get into movies so I don't have to take any directions. And you did not become a director.
But that was the original plan. I did music videos and stuff like that.
Did you really? Okay.
And I did that. Yeah. I just directed music videos and stuff.
Anything I would know?
No, probably not. You're just a young kid, so you wouldn't know.
My music trivia, I would say, is better than my movie trivia.
Oh yeah, no, these were just like up and coming guys, so they don't even exist anymore.
Okay.
But I did that, and then I realized, oh, that feels like work. And then I said, I'm never directing again. I'm gonna sit in a room by myself and just cry.
And those tears will be words. What podcast do you recommend the most?
Well, I like true crime podcasts.
True crime?
I don't have a specific one. Yeah, but I just do that's my job, is I just research real murder that has happened. So I don't have a specific one. If I'm doing entertainment or something local, we'll do Todd Hancock's podcast. Toddcast.
What is your go-to feel-good food?
Sushi's always good. We're from Vancouver. It's the best sushi in the world, and that includes, no offense to Japan, includes sushi I had in Tokyo when I was in China and asking about sushi, and I said I was from Canada. They said, interesting, they said, have you ever been to anywhere named Richmond? That's the best sushi we've ever had.
Really?
In Richmond. From Shanghai. I realized China and Japan are two different things. I was just like,
yes.
Richmond, and it was so good. And the best Korean food I've ever had is in Richmond as well. So I like okay, now I'm changing it from sushi to beef bulgogi in Richmond specifically. What about you?
I love food.
What's your favorite?
I like a good steak, but I mean, when it comes to comfort food, like a really solid pasta dish is hard to beat.
Right.
I mean, I got Italian roots. That just feels like, childhood, right? I mean, my grandma would come to town.
Yeah.
My grandma would come to town. We'd make handmade gnocchis on the table for an evening, and just so good, right? But,
all right, now I'm changing mine. Yeah, I like a nice, but like when you bake it, you do like
with
a
all the
tortellini
cheeses
with baked cheese
oozing.
on it and stuff like that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
really good. Because in Ottawa, which is interesting, it's a different demographic. I grew up, it was just like Italian neighborhood, and I was like the one guy that wasn't Italian. And so, yeah, that's the comfort food because it makes me feel like when I was in, up until grade 6, it's like a taste of home a little bit for sure.
Yeah.
But wait a second, you have Italian background?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I just thought the Thornton name, and it sounded very.
Yeah. So no, the Thornton name is my grandfather's name. Obviously, he was of British descent, so Thornton name is very prevalent in the UK. My dad's mom, her maiden name is Giaberti, which is very Italian.
Right.
And she actually just passed away in December at 103.
Wow.
But yeah, she always made the pasta from scratch. Around as a kid, like we'd have pasta, 2-3 times a week, no problem.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
But now it's like, oh my God, I got this tire around my belly I got to get rid of, and pasta's not going to help me with that goal. But
could be the IPA as well, though. It could be the IPA.
I don't think so. It's mostly water.
It's not the beer. I'm not removing that from my diet for any reason.
It's way easier to not eat pasta.
I don't own the Speedo.
No, you just.
I would like to.
No.
It's just not allowed at my house.
Well, you'll have a red one because that's part of the Duffman outfit.
You're really pushing Duffman.
Oh, yeah.
Because there is a Duffman, because I've actually seen it before. There's a Duffman costume you just order online.
Okay, so I'm going to put this out there. So anybody watching this, if you would like Mr. Kraig Wenman to be Duffman for Halloween 2020, put a comment below, hit the like button, whatever you got to do. Let's get this guy in a Duffman costume.
If you would not like to see that, dislike everything he just said. It's just like, these dislikes of, that guy's got a cartoon voice that we just don't want to see in his Duffman. His hair's too dark. His beard's too dark.
Yeah, but it's red hat.
Using just for men.
Anyways, buddy, all
right, man.
We'll definitely have to have a get together, whether it's from 6 feet or not. And I am definitely looking forward to going out for Italian food when we can. All right.
All right. Cheers, man. That's fun.
All right. Yeah. Take it easy. Say hi to the family. All right, bye.